stick or Saga, but I ra I'm gonna rank all the powers and units. Order minor. In terms of DPS, they're not really the best, but that's not what the minor is for. The minor is economy, and let's be honest, without the minor, you can't beat the game. So S tier, same goes for Chaos minor. You can't win a game without the minor. No minor, you don't get any gold or crystal. No gold or crystal, and you can't get any units. No units, and you die. So without the minor, you can't win. It's D, D tier. They're cheap, only like 50 gold each, but they're not really strong, but they only cost one unit cap, so you can have a lot of them on the screen at once. And when you pair them with the toxic and say like any chaos kind of upgrades, they're really good because you can get the rune of reanimation and just kind of every time you kill one of their units with poison, they become your unit. So the deads aren't the best, but they're just there to kind of take the hits for your other units. Crawlers. I don't think I've ever heard of the crawler before. I'm F tier. They're cheap like the deads, but they're really fast. So by the time they get to the front line, they die. By the time the rest of your army gets there, they're already dead. So probably F tier, but I've never really seen this unit a lot. So bomber, probably probably under deads. So D tier. Reasoning, they're cheap, but they instantly explode, and it takes quite a lot of them to kill some of the heavy class units. And they don't really pair well with a lot of stuff. Like they're more so for hit and runs, like early game, just kind of pestering your enemy. Sigurath, F tier. To be honest, if you're going to use the Sigurath, you're better off using the Swordath. The Swordath is safe. They're both light units, but the Swordath has more health, does more damage, and it's just as fast. Sigurath is just the Swordath, but worse in every single way. Swordath, C tier. They're not good, they're not bad, they're just kind of in the middle. Like they're really cheap early game. They're not they're not like dirt cheap, so that and they have enough health and DPS to kind of hold their own in a fight. Archers, B tier. If you have a good front line and the archers will just sit behind far back, do tons of DPS, lots of range. If you have a lot of them, you can just destroy enemy units in seconds. Eclipsor, I kind of treat them like an archer because they're basically like an archer, but they can fly. So there's not many units that can hit them. The only units that be able to hit them is giants or some abilities from their generals or like any ranged unit. So there's the archer, but a little better. They're a lot more expensive. They're going to take more unit cap, so they're a little harder to get. But once you get one, it's totally worth it. Shadowruff, a little better than the Swordath. They have a little more abilities. Their DPS is a little better, faster, but more unit cap, and I don't really use them a lot. This is based off of my opinion, so if you guys disagree or don't agree with anything that I choose or where I put something, feel free to let me know. Like, feel free to share your opinion. Spearton, A tier, pretty good, really tanky. There's a good amount of upgrades that buff them, like Pike. And you got Speed and Spawn as well. Tanky, their damage is pretty good. Not as good as the Stick War Legacy Speeding because they can't block attacks with their shield, but it's still a really decent unit. Juggernaut, they're basically the Chaos version of the Speeding, but better because you can get poisoned with them. Um, they have the shield, they have the charge ability, so they can knock down enemies, which the Speeding used to be able to do in Stick or Legacy, but can't do in Saga. So this is it's basically Chaos Speeding, but a little better in terms of abilities and just getting through enemy lines. Rip Riders, C tier, they have a lot of health, but their damage is really mid, and they take a lot of unit cap. Like, if they had more damage, I would put them easy B tier, but it's just because their DPS is a lot worse than, say, Sword Wrath and Shadow Wrath. And they just run through enemy lines, so if you're just using these guys as your front lines and have archers behind, the enemy's just going to go past your Rip Riders and straight to your archers and just kill your archers off. So, like, they have good health, but their DPS doesn't really make up for their health. Poison Dead, if you're doing a really um dead based strategy, you probably want one because B tier for the toxic dead because basically Chaos Archer, but they have poison damage default by the way, so you don't have to get any enchantments to access that poison. You can upgrade their poison so it does more poison damage, and you can get Rune of Reanimation. So say if a unit dies while being poisoned, they become your unit. So a really just really good unit to have. Per, it really pairs well with the normal dead. Giant, probably high A tier. On their own, really tanky, good damage. They have a lot of splash damage. They can stun enemies, but on their own, but their weakness is they can't handle a lot of enemies by themselves. So you need to get other units to kind of support them, like say Spartans, just any front line range. You just need stuff to support the giant, but on their own, they're really good and really tanky, good, low attack speed, but their damage and ability to be able to stun a lot of enemies makes up for that. And you can get the giant upgrade, which will make the giant even better. Enslaved giant, pretty high A tier. It's like it has the health of the normal giant, but it shoots like boulders. It acts more of a ranged unit, so it's not going to tank a lot of damage for your other units to do DPS. Like it's just going to sit behind and like do just try to shoot them, which is not. I don't really like this unit because of it. When I use giants, I kind of like them being up the front, just kind of tanking the damage, and letting my other units just kind of do the DPS like archers, and just kind of keeping my Spartans alive for a little longer. Another thing I forgot to say about the giants is they can't. They're some only units, and this goes for the Rip Rider as well. That Rip Rider and both giants can't fall back into the castle. So if you try and retreat, they can't fall back and they'll just die. So it's probably one reason I'm not going to put them in S tier because the rest of the units you see, they're able to fall back and you're able to get those castle archers to support you. Merrick, S tier, broken. One of the only units in the game that can heal and comes with bubble shield. Like if you have a unit that can heal your other units and just keep them alive for even longer, that's automatically like even more broken. Magi Kill before the update, I'd put um Magi Kill in C tier because the early attacks were their spell where they just kind of make an explosion and it's minions, but now they come with a melee, and that melee does do good damage. So I'd put Magi Kill in BT. They're a really good supporting line unit. Like, I wouldn't use them as just your main line, but the minions and just the explosion spell they do comes in handy. Like, it just really good for getting through front lines and just kind of getting units in there. I forgot the name of this spell. Basically, what it does is it will kind of allow you to see the whole battlefield, which is good, but a lot of the time I don't use it. But say you're playing multiplayer, that is pretty broken. Like, you can see what your enemy's up to. So I'd probably put it A tier. Minor Hustle, pretty good. Makes your miners faster. Mines faster. Lets them hold a little more material. Pretty good. It's good for getting your economies up. Rage. Now, Rage is a little bit of a hard one for me because Rage is pretty good because it makes all your light units attack faster, run faster, and just increases their DPS by a lot. But it only works for light units. And if you have a strategy that is really based off heavy units that doesn't have a lot of light, there's really no point in having it. But even if you just have archers, it pairs with them really well. And its ability is really cheap and cooldown. It's pretty short, so I'll put it. I'll put it. I'll put it B tier because it just depends on what you're using. I'm gonna come back to that one. I'll come back to that one as well. Tesla coil. Tesla coil's pretty good, but a lot of people know how to avoid it. Like, you just pull back your units and wait. If it hits them, yeah, it's a lot of damage, but that's if they don't pull their units back. So C tier, healing ward. Healing ward's pretty good. It heals your army, but if you have a big army, your units aren't going to get a lot of health, but it's still pretty broken. Heavy, healing ward, yes. Pretty good. Not as good as not as good as healing ward though, because it only heals one heavy unit at a time, and heavy unit as well. So it won't heal your light units. So your light units won't get any health, but with healing ward, every unit will get a bit of health. Lightning storm, pretty good. Not the best though. Like, I'd put it C tier. It's not something you see people using a lot. Bubble shield, S tier, because it can block any projectiles, and it just allows your melee units to really just rush in there. Meteor, under rage, like, it's one of those spells you don't see a lot, but when you do use it, it's really enjoyable and really fun to use. It summons a lot of meteors down it, and it has a really short cooldown, so you can pretty much just spam it the whole time. Boys trap, not something you see a lot, and it's useful. Like, whatever, your archers have to die, and if you don't get your archers die, it's basically useless. And it only sets down one trap per archer death, and most times you don't want your archers to die. Acid rain, good, but it can also harm your own army. So if you're not using toxic dead or anything that has toxic, like any poison to it, like deads, you basically got to poison yourself as well. So it can hurt the enemy, but at the same time you're gonna hurt yourself. So it's a kind of a 50-50. Like, it's probably not a spell that you want to use. Lizard, okay, it's kind of like a remix of acid rain. Instead of acid, it's just snow. Like it will damage your units a tiny bit, but they won't. They'll get their health back instantly. But you can slow your own units down with this, so you're just gonna nerf yourself as well with this one. Upgrades your miners, and just kind of upgrades it for your base in general, which is pretty good, but you don't use it a lot. It's kind of in the middle, not good, not bad. Castle archers, B tier, just gives you two permanent castle archers. That's a low B tier. That is pretty good. Like it gives you two permanent castle archers, and they have a ton of range. So pretty much when they get a little past that middle tower, they'll start getting shot. I forgot this one. What something has to do with Zillaros. I think it allows you to have two mythic class enchantments, which is S tier. Like you can have two mythics, so you say you can have fire arrows and electricity. You can have just two things, and that's really good. Monstrosity, follow cast marches. It just upgrades your giants, gives them more health. It makes their character bigger, so it increases their hitbox and just gives them more health. So it's gonna you're giving your giants more health, but at the same time you're making them easier to hit. Minor upgrade, little above economy, just upgrades your miners. Allows them to hold more, and I don't think it makes them mine any faster. It just allows them to hold more gold and crystal. Enchanted pike. Um, I'll put that below monstrosity. The spitings do more damage, and at level 2, it allows you to get any of the arrow enchantments on it. And what's next? I don't think I've ever heard of this one. I don't really know what it does, so I might hold off on doing that for now. Just and this spell basically allows your miners to build a wall, which the enemy has to break through, and the enemy will take a little damage, which is pretty good. Like you can just build a wall right in front of your base, fall back. You don't have to break it to get through. Only the enemy does. Rune of Reanimation. Now this I've been talking about this one quite a bit. It is S tier for one reason. If you pair it with something like, let me go, point. This spell allows all chaos units to get poisoned, and this one makes all poisoned units that you kill become zombies on your side. So if you pair these two together, you've automatically got every one of the units you kill becomes one of your units. So you just basically get a free replenishment for your own forces. This one allows you to get a tiny bit of money and crystal back for dead units and when you kill units. Pretty good, but I don't think it's worth taking up a sort of free slot where you can get something like Rune for the animation, Bubble Shield, or like Castle Archers or Rage, just anything that kind of boosts your army. Secret Tunnel, F tier, no one uses it. It's really useful, but you have to put you have to put upgrades into the upgrade tree, and that's just two upgrades gone that you could have put into health, damage, or like just anything that really serves a better purpose that would make your forces a lot stronger. And to be honest, it doesn't take that long for your units to get from your base to the tower, so it's really just kind of useless. It has a use, it allows your units to spawn at middle tower, but it's not worth the slot in my opinion. Like you could pick something that's a lot better over Secret Tunnel. Spear and Spawn, low B tier, allows you to spawn up to 4 Spartans, but you have to get 4 upgrades into upgrade tree. But yeah, again, they're full 4 Spartans, and if you have Pike, they get Pike. So they basically you just get free. You get 4 Spartans that spawn at the middle tower. Yes, you have to have the middle tower, but you get Spartans for free at that point, which will go straight to enemy base, harass the enemy, allow you to see what they have. This one's basically like it spawns zombies instead of the Spartans. I'll put it C tier. Not as good as Spartan spawn, but it happens a lot sooner than Spartan spawn does. So I might just put it below Spartan spawn. Same, it's basically it says Spartans, you get zombies. No idea what that one does. Archers. Now these we're gonna get into some of their generals. But I think I might save the generals for after, so let's just finish up with the spells. I'm just gonna add a new row. No idea what this does. This one I think just buffs your enchanted arrows a little bit, which is good, but I don't think it's worth. I don't know what that does. Neither does that. I'll find out what these do at a later point, but I don't know what they do right now. Let's just finish up the spells. Fire arrows, A tier, really good. You get burning damage. You can put on the Spartans with Pike, and the burn's pretty quick. Does a good amount of damage. Glacial arrows, they're okay, but they don't do much any over time damage. And they just slow the enemy for a little bit. Voltic arrows, get them out of here. They only do like 1 overtime damage, and they don't really boost your army much, so they can go F tier. Voltic shield basically gives you shield and some of your heavy units that shield. Like when they get hit, that enemy will start taking 1 damage over time. Not really that useful. Vampiric Soul, automatic S tier. Let's put in S tier. Allows you units to take a little bit of your enemy's health when they hit the enemy. So they basically keeps them alive a lot longer. And if you pair that with Healing Ward, that's pretty good. Let's just finish it. This one just gives you, if you have to have over 2,000 gold to get a little more gold over time, and a lot of the time you don't really have that much gold, and when you do, you're not really building much anymore, so it's kind of useless. Now we're going to get into some of the heroes, like the general class units. First up, we have Archers. Now, Archers was a new character added into the Saga when, I think, around when campaign dropped. There's not much difference between him and Kaichu, but he has a few more abilities, but I don't really prefer his abilities over Kaichu's. In terms of damage, he is pretty good, but I wouldn't say he's better than Kaichu. Speaking of Kaichu A tier abilities can dodge, so can archers dodge. Can make all your archers shoot to a certain point, So if you make that arrow land in enemy lines when they're not attacking, and then just make all your archers shoot at that point, you're doing pretty good damage. And I think she just does a little more damage than Archers does. I think Archers is that tiny bit worse than what Kaiju is. Sickle Bear, for a general, he's kind of bad. Like, his main attack is okay. Him summoning Sickle Wrath over top with ability is pretty good, up to 8 Sickle Wrath, but they can't take unit cap. His ability when he turns into a bear is really useless, doesn't do much damage, knocks enemies aside, and it just gets him killed. So, in my opinion, he's the worst of all the generals. Like, you could pick a lot better generals than him. Zephos is going to be one of those. Zephos is going to be one of those ones where I'm probably going to say, he is pretty good. Like, I'd consider him high B tier. Good damage. If you get a free rage with him, and also he can do a little jump in air where he slams his sword in the ground, like an air effects attack. Like, that attack has pretty good AoE. His general DPS is pretty good for a general, but he isn't on. His health could be a little better, but he makes up with it for DPS. Atreus, probably high B tier as well. Has the same AoE attack as Atreus, as sorry, Xiphos. Xiphos and Atreus have kind of both have an AoE attack that's basically the same. Um, yeah, but Xiphos though he has the ability to summon Clicky like a Riptor that could basically bring him back to the base pretty quickly. So if he gets knocked, he can come back the quickest out of all the generals. His health's okay, but there's generals I would consider a little better than what he does. And one of those would be Spiros. Spiros has more health, does a little more damage, I think, and he has a ability where he can basically freeze units, and that is really useful. But he just has more health, a little more damage, so I prefer using him over Atreus when I can. Rafnar, really, really high. I'd probably consider him. I'd consider him a S tier general. Out of all the generals I use, he is my favorite. His abilities are overpowered. Both of them just massive AoE. His damage is pretty good. Not as much health as Spiros, but his DPS is probably a lot better. His abilities help out army quite a bit. He has fire damage as well, so he's pretty good. Fear, probably another S tier general in my opinion. Merrick, American more health, bubble shield. Basically has a healing ward ability. Can heal units a little quicker. And like I said before, anything that can heal your units is pretty good. Like, it's automatic, like in the top 2 tiers. Zarek. Now, Zarek is actually one of their generals I never really used because, one, his DPS was a lot worse than, say, the other generals he have on his tier list right now, but I don't really know what exactly his abilities are anymore, because a lot of the abilities got changed and reworked when the campaign dropped. So Xeric is actually going to be probably one of the few generals I'm going to put in. I don't know. I don't really know what he does. Marikai, A tier. DPS is okay. Like, his attacks, it's his abilities where he shines. He can summon dead, so He can also kind of grab some units from the back of the line and pull them into your ranks, like into your army, so they get basically get killed. And he also has an ability where he summons a skeleton arms at the ground, which stun massive AoE and stun the enemies for a decent amount. And he's a little cheaper in terms of gold, but his crystal price is a little more expensive. So I'll put him high A tier just because he's a little more expensive. Like he's a little more of a pricey general. Now I don't know what this hero is. He's new. He's a general for the Giants, but I don't know what he does yet. Reminds me of the Kai Rider from Stickle Legacy a little bit. Mages also could be a general. I don't really know what they do. They're a little new, so and they're behind paywalls as well. So I'm not too sure what they do. This is my tier list on all the spells, units, and generals in Stick or Saga. Obviously, there's some things wasn't too sure about, but if I find out what they do, I might redo the tier list like at a future date when I know what they do. Anyway, this was my tier list. I hope you enjoyed and this was to any use of to anyone. If you guys enjoyed, please remember to like, subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And if you don't want to miss any more videos, hit the notification bell. This is the Dark Marine, and I'll see you guys in the next one.